Thank you for sticking with us. Introducing Mr. White.
It's always a pleasure to be here in Voice and Vision. Tumejaribu kujisqueeze isijifunike sababu leo logo hakuna ingine.
You are understanding about culture and how the meaning has shifted over time.
Culture is a set of values that a person or a group ascribes to. Culture is not only what was done in the past, culture is also what you have ascribed to as a way of life and values even in these times. When it comes to culture, there are cultures that we adapt to for our good and for the good of the people that we have found. And these cultures do not make you a different person. They do not touch your identity. Ruth is a truthful person. If she meets me and she starts lying, this is my culture of lying. Her culture is she talks the truth. If she allows me to influence her and she starts lying, she has not only changed her culture, but her identity.
How do you feel that moving or migrating to another country might, let's say, affect your sense of identity?
Environment has a lot of influence on any individual. Sasa hivi ukinipatia ugali nitashika na mkono vizuri nituange kuku yangu. If I go there and every place I go there using forks, knives and all those things, of course those usichome, you'll adopt. For the people who go to different countries, there are some behaviors that they come and they have adopted. Of course, tunaona kama wanaringa, lakini sio kuringa. Environment has a lot of influence. But of course, ikiwa ulitoka huku last year August, huwezi kuja uanze kuongelesha ile ya mtu wote. You know, you wanna wewe acha unajua kuongea.
Welcome to the VoiceandVisionPodcast.
Different ways that you can invest depending on the amount of money.
Akazungusha macho akasema kama huyu jamaa.
A podcast where we dive deep into stories and ideas on how the current world is running.
Yes. Thank you for sticking with us. Alafu nilisikia hiyo ya leo ilikuwa ilithibitika. Ni kama iko na mananasi.
Amro bwana.
Yeah, thank you so much for your patience. Oh, my patience. Yes, guys, welcome back. Introducing Mr. White, blackest man in Africa. Basi tena leo mahali akismile zingine usiku. But being a photographer, sijui mbona watu usi wanapiga picha nzuri kuliko watu weupe. Sijui kweli the science behind it.
Maybe it's biology behind it.
Washaifanya show na his wife. Hakuna kitu kilikuwa ngumu kama kubalance light ya kamera. Ukiweka hii moja na compress. Like ilikuwa tu ngumu. Anyway, Mr. White, welcome to this episode.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and maybe as we start off, maybe an introduction kwa mtu wa kujui hapa. Yes.
How are you ni?
How are you?
Bwana asifiwe. Very good. It's always a pleasure to be here in Voice and Vision. Tumejaribu kujisqueeze isijifunike sababu leo logo hakuna ingine. Mr. Kim. Yes, the first is to appreciate you, Kim, for this wonderful thing that you have organized together with the people that are behind you. It started as a dream, as an idea, and I've seen you pushing it to what it is today. And I can tell you, I have organized events and I can confidently say, hapa nayo umeweza. For the first time, to appreciate Kim Monday for what you've done. And to our audience, my name is Mr. White. Usiulize White iko wapi, tumesema anacheza kwa tisho. That's why nime lakini God alimake sure amenipatia wife white.
Hello.
And I want to appreciate my wife as well, Pastor Lu. Asalimie hivyo. Yes, thank you for accompanying me. Otherwise, it's a pleasure for me to be here and also to have you there listening to today's Voice and Vision show. I'm so happy and excited, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Na utawaambia first episode ilikuwa ya nani?
Hawajajua? Hawajajua? Yes.
Fahamu na connection tuone na watu wengine na Hilda hata waambia. My first episode kwa tulifanyaga na Mr. White. Yes. Kushoot ilikuwa nyingi. Nilobeti tulifanya episode 6 before tuwe ya kwanza. Yes, ilikuwa ya kwanza. Na tulikuwa na kamera zingine sisi zilikuwa ni later tukua nayo, so una imagine Mr. White vile alikuwa anakaa hapo.
Ibidi niji-explain kwa kamera huko nyuma niko hapa.
Sikagi hivi.
Yes.
Yeah, so Mr. White, earlier for the first segment of this podcast, we did some assumption about culture and identity and peer generational shifts. And maybe that even as we get started, you are understanding about culture. You are understanding about culture and how the meaning has shifted over time.
Thank you very much. Kama umekaa mbali karibia, tuongee kuhusu stuff. For me, culture, and I like how you combined it in the first session. You talked about culture and you also talked about identity. And now I want to add another term for me to be able to define well tradition. So culture is a set of values that a person or a group ascribes to. For example, someone talked about dowry in the African culture. Most cultures have actually accepted it as a way of life, and it is a level of life in ukifika. Actually, you have people who come in and assist you to do that. And culture is not only the things that we think are for, I saw most of us trying to bring our parents into the picture, talking about what they used to do. But culture is not only what was done in the past, culture is also what you have ascribed to as a way of life and values, even in these times. And that's why we have the old culture, we have the modern culture, and all those things. Tradition is now what most of us are focusing on. It is what it is passed now from one generation to another. It is the things that were done by our grandfathers, they were done by our parents, we are doing them, and most likely we shall pass them down to our children. But culture is, we have agreed to be doing this. For example, when someone develops a habit of reading a book every day, we say, I have a culture of reading, yes. But it is not tradition. It is what they have ascribed to at this time. But the tradition is now what was passed now. Our grandfathers paid dowry, our parents paid dowry. For those of us who have already gotten to that level, we have paid dowry, and I am sure my son, he must pay dowry. So that now becomes tradition, creating the difference between culture and tradition. And then all of this, whatever you pick from the culture, whatever you pick from the tradition, and allow it to become part of you, now builds your identity.
So, what's your take na young people not embracing our traditions? Venye tumesema traditions zetu za kitambo nini, unaona ikiwa aje venye young people nowadays don't embrace it?
To some level, I understand them, because it is hard to force a tradition down a young person when they don't have a background of that tradition. For example, and it's something that I would wish for any one of us who will get to that opportunity to correct. When dowry is being negotiated, watoto wadogo, and especially the male child who will actually get to that responsibility, most of the time, you'll actually be asked to stay outside, right? So whatever is being discussed there, you don't know and you have no clue. But remember, the society will also expect you to do that. What I know in the current generation, we are in an era of there's a lot of knowledge. Knowledge is not limited. And whatever knowledge that young people are being fed with is what now determines their preferences, is what determines their lifestyles and all of those things. And that's why you see most people now, they want to dress like a certain musician, they want to talk in a certain way because they have been listening to these people. And therefore, I know it will be good if tradition will be passed, but I will not blame the young people because they are not given an opportunity to understand the background of the things that are being forced on them. If they would understand, and these are challenges that I will throw down to our parents, let them carry these things, these traditions that are good. They have verified them and they have proof of building people in a good way. Let them pass them down to another. Our grandparents used to do them very well because ukisikia one of the stories that Kim alikuwa anasema hakubaliani nayo, but this one I agree. They would sit when they go to visit their grandparents, they would sit and they would be educated about the things that our grandparents used to do, the culture of our grandparents. Those things are there. And even up to date, if I go to my grandparents' place, if you get a good session wakati yako lively, atakwambia tulikuwa tunafanya hivi. Na hivi ndio watu wetu wanafanya nini? Wanafanyanga. They are getting that opportunity to pass it down. So there is a gap. After them, we don't have a lot of people who now pass this now down to the young people. So there is a gap. It might not be a bad thing, but the gap is what is making most young people to push it back.
So the question is, in terms of cultures and personal identity, how does a person keep himself in the track in terms of personal identity and cultural expectations to certain places and stuff? Like what I mean is, you can go to somewhere and find the culture that is in there. It's not something that you have been used to. So the question is, how can you adapt but don't lose your personal identity?
So what you're bringing out is there's a way you do things, and you've gone to a new place whereby they do them differently.
Yeah.
You want to fit in, but you also don't want to lose yourself.
Yes.
Very good. There's a famous saying that when you go to Rome, live like the Romans. Senior, do like the Romans do. If you look at the background of that phrase is when you go to Kenya, like the whites who come to Kenya, and in Kenya, we drive on which side of the road? On the left. In their country, they drive on the right. In this case, hawezi kuja utuambie sisi kwetu tunaendeshanga on the right. Akitoka pale either atagonga mse ama atashikwa. Na akiendelea kushikilia ataendelea kushikwa, si ndio? So when it comes to culture, there are cultures that we adapt to for our good and for the good of the people that we have found. And these cultures do not make you a different person. They do not touch your identity. This person is in Kenya, driving on the left side, but they are still American. Sindio? Akirudi kwao, atenda endeshe on the side yenye kwao wanafanya nini? As in, you will not take this out of him. What they have done, they have adopted with the environment, with the culture of Kenya, because if you go against it, it has actually consequences, and it does not actually touch on the identity part of this person. But there's a second part to this. There is a place whereby, for example, One of the cultures I developed as a young person was before I eat my food, I must pray. It is what my parents have shown me. It has become it was our culture, and I've carried it as my culture right now. If I go to a place whereby nobody prays for their food before they eat, you see, it was a culture, but now I do it with the understanding of as why. Number one, I'm giving thanks to God. Number two, I'm blessing the food so that it can be a blessing to my food. This is a culture that I will not let go of in two ways. Number one, I have the understanding, and taking it away from me will change my identity. I'm a person who gives thanks before I eat. I'm a person who has to read a book every week before the month ends. I have to read at least 4 books. That's your culture. That's the part whereby you do not allow people to touch into the part of culture that now will change your identity as a person. Tunajuanga Kim ni mse wa asubuhi. There's a group you can meet, Kim aache kuwa mse wa asubuhi. That has touched identity ya Kim. Mtu fulani ni mse anaongeanga ukweli. Ruth is a truthful person. If she meets me and she starts lying, this is my culture of lying. Her culture is she talks the truth. If she allows me to influence her and she starts lying, she has not only changed her culture but her identity. Tulikuwa tunamjua Ruth wa ukweli, sasa ni Ruth za watu wa kutupanga. So that's how I'll put it for that question.
Yes, and you did mention something about that when maybe you move to a different country, we happen to change our culture. And how do you feel that moving or migrating to another country might, let's say, affect your sense of identity?
There's like a small illustration I saw somewhere the other day. Like these 3 things, hizi zimewekwa kwa ukuta round. If the 2 of them were moving and they come to contact with the third whatever and it's not moving, automatically it will start moving. True or false?
True.
So that is the power of environment and the people that you surround yourself with. Knowingly or unknowingly, they will affect your personality. That means they will touch on the part of identity, and they'll also touch on the part of culture. Because environment has a lot of influence on any individual. Most of us here are Christians, and I can confirm that we did not get to a level and decide, I really want to be a Christian. We found our parents taking us to church and introducing this religion to us as the right one. I'm sure if you are born into a Muslim family, there would be a big chance that you will remain a Muslim. So environment has an influence. So for the people who go to different countries, there are some behaviors that they come and they have adopted. Of course, tunaona kama wanaringa, lakini sio kuringa. Environment has a lot of influence. But of course, ikiwa ulitoka huku last year August, huwezi kuja uanze kutuongelesha ile ya mpua tena. You know, you wanna wewe wacha unajua kuongea vizuri, si ndio? But there are some habits probably sasa hivi ukinipatia ugali nitashika na mkono vizuri nituange kuku yangu. If I go there and every place I go there using forks, knives and all those things, of course no usichome, you'll adopt. Nikikuja, probably it has become part of me so much such that ile ugali nilikuwa nakula before na nimezoea because nimeifanya breakfast, lunch, supper for 1 month, for 2 months, for a whole year. It has become part of your system. Sindio?
Yeah.
So there are things that it's good for you to change. Again, how they do their things over there, you must adapt to. The things that if you do not, they might put you into trouble with the law. Like the things to mesema, how they drive, how they work. There are countries that they pay their rent at the end of the week. Waweze na kusema Kenya tunalipanga mwisho wa mwezi na hata landlord tunajuana naweza pitisha hiyo tarehe 10, si ndio? If that's not what they do, you can't do that. It will put you in trouble. But one thing I know, whether you like it or not, it's not a matter of should you, it's a matter of actually when. Because as the longer you stay there, the longer some behaviors will actually become part of you. But the one thing to take care of is the identity part, because your identity should remain, whether you're in the US, whether you're in Russia, Soviet, or in Kenya.
Yes,
Speaking of culture, is there a specific culture which I feel like you are forced to change, and how do you manage it?
A specific culture?
That you are forced to change, and how do you manage it?
A specific culture. There is one that I found during my school days, and I found most people, for example, there is a competition. Everybody would strive to be announced like the number one, number two, number three, like the best person in whatever competition that you are in. And I know it's a culture that is there right now, and I'd like to challenge us who are here to assist also in changing of this culture. And actually, some of you have actually shared this with. Let me connect it with my campus. I used to see in campus, Safaricom would come and say, we are going to sponsor a training. We are going to have a training for students in a certain area. And there will be people who are doing the registration, of course, the official, the people with connections. And if you look at the registration list, you will turn like the first page, the second page, people were registering and paying for those trainings. And then it will come for the day of now the actual training, and nobody will show up. There will be like, out of 300 registered people, we had like an attendance of less than 30 people. But at the end of that function, whoever mobilized, people will be in his room asking for their certificates. Unajua nililipa. Because, and I saw a culture that had been corrupt, because we valued the certificates more than the knowledge and the skills that these people sacrificed to travel all the way from Nairobi to come and train you. Their purpose was to give you a certificate that indicates you have actually gained this knowledge, or you have actually gained this skill. And this was a culture that went on and on and on. I used to see St. John, wanasema they are training people on first aid and all those things. People register, but only 7 people will show up. And then after that, everyone wants a certificate. So what I did to change this culture, because I thought this is actually why the job market was despising people with degrees. Because very big paper with very big titles, but nothing in between the ears to show the value that you actually want to prove with your papers. I've actually seen a graduate who is not able to write a simple letter, but the papers say he's graduated. So it was a culture that I felt was corrupted, and which ilikuwa inachomea wase wako campus, sababu ulikuwa unatoka na wewe wa degree, afadhali wa diploma, ama you take a lower pay. So what I did, I brought together young people, and I requested, we went through and we observed, and we actually saw it's a gap that we had all identified. So what we did, we started organizing events for those people who want to build their minds, who want to grow knowledge, who want to grow skills. And the catch was, you pay, but there's no certificate. So this is a person who has come to pay for the knowledge, to come to pay for the training. And I actually realized there was a big gap that never showed up on the other side, because they were waiting for such an opportunity. And slowly by slowly, we started finding young people who now did not value the certificate as much as the knowledge and the qualifications that were being written on the certificates.
Yes, and maybe as we wrap up today's episode, maybe your final words, maybe to the young adults, currently, maybe specifically ladies, about culture and identity.
To the young people and all of us who are here, my closing statement would be, create your own culture and let it be part of your identity. And as you interact with different culture, borrow the best from any culture that you interact with. Culture, unlike tradition, is not like this is what we used to do. Culture is progressive, it continues changing, it continues improving. So do not stick with one culture and continue blaming your parents. Develop your culture from the knowledge that you have gained, from the people that you're interacting with, from the books that you're reading, from the countries that God will enable you to travel, and let them form part of your identity, because your identity becomes your trademark. It will sell you in life, the levels that you want to go into, that trademark that you will create through the culture that you'll adopt, making it your identity and part of your discipline, will actually open doors for you, will cause you to be a person of influence, and you live a fruitful life and a purpose-filled life.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Roy.
Thank you.
And Elvis and Himla for joining today's conversation. And also thank you, our listener. Kuna watcher, inakoga? Ni watcher, listener.
Viewer.
Our viewer, thank you so much for being part of this amazing conversation. And for those of us who are watching us from BTL TV or from Rara FM, ama YouTube, thank you so much for choosing to be a loyal follower, a loyal listener. Na tulisema ni hatia kuwatch content yangu bila kusubscribe. Kindly subscribe. And until we meet again for another session of VV Show, God bless.
Amen.
Amen.